Okay, so I want to bring up few things before I get into what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, I've watched some of my videos with myself and I put them online, and I do try to edit these videos and try and make the sound seem a little bit cleaner. I'm starting off with like the littlest amount of equipment that I have, and probably some of the cheapest too. So I will try and figure it out and how to edit it and make sure people can hear me better. I was watching my first video on this subject on Michael Tait, and it's hard for me to even understand what I'm saying. But I will say that if anybody ever has any questions, or they want to clarify what I'm talking about, you can tell me which you can give me the timestamp and I can tell you. So I've been reading up about Michael Tait for quite a while now. I saw this letter from him in June. I saw that in the beginning. Like I don't I won't say it was within like a couple hours. It was probably within the first week. I saw this and back in January I did see the letter that he sent to the other bandmates saying that he was going to quit. So what I've noticed is I've done some more reading. I guess I missed a few reports. I did put some links in my last video about some more things that are allegedly coming up and being talked about by people who are being investigated, and this is all being reported by the Roy's report. I am not affiliated with them. I'll get into what I think about them. You know, I don't know actually too much about the Roy's report, so I'm not going to sit there and say anything about them specifically. But I will talk about the rhetoric that they have put in there and the way they try and make things sound, because they make it sound really bad, which I'm not saying that this whole situation isn't bad. I'm just going to sit there and wonder, okay, why why are they gonna put what they put up there out there? They want people to know about what's going on. I understand that, but I want to know the truth, and I don't want people to be sitting there like trying to take little snake bites off people. So um I'm gonna go into the way I feel right now about it before I get attacked. um I read the news, saw the letter from Michael Tait, and I have read quite a bit about what's going on, as much as I can. There's more I could probably read. There's more out there. So if somebody has something that they need me to read, that's okay. Most of all my information or what I'm gathering is coming from the Roy's report, and I think that's where a lot of this information is coming from, and that's where I'm getting mine from. So if somebody has some other stuff to share with me, I would love to hear it. I would love to read it. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and get into this really quickly again. I am not okay with Michael Tait having victims. I am on the victim's side. I have been a victim. I'm not going to go into details about what, where, when, and how for me. And that's one big thing about somebody who's in the public spotlight. People who are in the public spotlight have to have their life pretty much dissected by paparazzi, fans, anybody interested, news media. This can be news media that's in the Christian industry. This can be news media outside of the Christian industry. It can be news media that's, you know, don't take everything for granted. Remember, there are biased people out there, and I will say there are people who um, are Christian writers, and they might be biased as well. I mean, it's just um, this is just the way I feel it. I try and take the news and I look at it in a neutral way, but I also take what it's saying in a specific way. So what I'm saying is what the Roy's report is saying, and I will go with it. I'm going to have to go with that at the moment. I'm going with their reports that they are reporting on. I will go ahead and easily, okay, I understand. I see what you're saying. I'm reading it. I understand. Okay. So I'm coupling that with the confession that Michael Tait brought out too. So with those coupled together, I'm in the belief that yes, it sounds like Michael Tait has victims, and I am on the victim side. I want people who have gone through what they say they have gone through to come forward. It's going to be hard. I know. Um, if you want it, if it needs to be in secret, find somebody that you can tell it in secret and bring it there. But we want victims to come forward so we can actually bring this to the light. Um, Jesus said, in the Gospel of John, it says, "The darkness did not comprehend the light. Darkness can't comprehend light." So we want to bring this to the light. And it's funny because it's not really that funny, but there's a song by DC Talk with Michael Tait in it called "In the Light." So I guess we're just going to go ahead and bring him into the light. So I was reading Michael Tait. He's had an issue with alcohol and cocaine use and unwanted sensual touching. He admitted to that. He said some of the details he would probably disagree with, that people are going to come out with and say, but the substance of them is true. And I believe that is his words in the confession. So um, I think this is pretty big. It's really big, when you're in the limelight and you're a big spotlight and you're a big musician and artist, and then this comes out, and well, I've seen some articles from people outside of the Christian music industry. I'm just kind of like, I'm gonna shove them aside because it's like, why are you bothering us with that? I mean, I want you to be with Jesus, but are they gonna come to Jesus now, or what are they trying to say? Why do they have some sort of input that's gonna make me like base my decision off of what they say? So I'm trying to go with what I'm reading. So this is more like an update. I just posted a video about Michael Tait, and I did miss a couple articles. I was surprised because I've been keeping up with it, but I was sick last month for a little while, and I was sick in the beginning of this month too. So I've been a little sick, but been able to do what I can on video. But so what I was getting back, I'm going to scroll a little bit, and I was reading another report. So a big one thing I didn't know, and I hadn't read about this, is that Michael Tait had a criminal record. He was accused of DUI and reckless driving. I don't remember the street. Nashville, that's where it is. Nashville. And it says it right there. I'm pretty sure. Um, Police know. Yeah, no, they found him and they arrested him for it, and he spent, I think it said 48 hours in jail before making bond, and then so what he did there would impact uh, something that happened later on when he became a lead singer of Newsboys. So the DUI was before he took on the lead singing role of Newsboys. So what the report is saying is that he took on Newsboys later on. And it was years later, I guess, Newsboys, they were trying to do a tour in Canada, and they refused entry to Michael Tait. This is what the report is saying. Um, this is from the Roy's report. Uh, I could try and cross-reference or try and find it, but I'm just going off this one. I haven't looked at other sources. I think they're the ones that are working on the story, so I'm going to go with them, and I'm okay. I'm trusting in them. I read it. It's just some of the rhetoric and some of the things the way and the way they put it together. But it doesn't sound like we really want to find the truth out. We want healing, but the way the law works in our land here is that Michael Tait should probably be looking at prison time. So I believe in forgiving. Peter asked Jesus, "How many times shall we forgive our brother?" Is it 7 times? Peter asked. Jesus replied, "No, I say you forgive your brother 70 times 7. And there's another scripture that says, if your brother sins against you 7 times in one day, then you shall forgive him 7 times that day. We want forgiveness, we want healing, but we also want the law, which is the law, to be adhered to. So, do I want this to be happening? No. Do I want Michael Tait in prison? No. I don't. I don't. But the reason why I don't want Michael Tait in prison is because I don't want this whole situation to be happening, but it is. So I'm going to go with the victims, and I read that one victim, or there's more, that they do want to see him in prison. So okay, I'll get that. I was reading in that report. This was earlier before what I've been reading, and it said one of the victims had already forgiven Michael. So there's forgiveness now. We want forgiveness. We don't want hatred. We don't want to get into this um, cycle where nothing good comes out of it. Paul said, "Do not repay evil with evil, but repay evil with good and do good." So we want to do good. So good is going to be, it could be your vision of it and my vision of it should be at least met in a middle. Um, I'm not going to cancel Michael Tait in my life. And when I say that, I mean I'm not going to stop listening to DC Talk. I'm not going to stop listening to his newsletter. I love those songs, and I think they are there to um, glorify God, and they're there to bring people there. So then we go to the person who's singing it, but just one of them, because there's so many different musicians and so many different people involved. And so now I'll go into the involvement of what I've read, the Campbell, Steve and Wes Campbell. So I'm not going to dive deep into it. These are the producers who produce the music with Tait and while they were with him, and it sounds like they kind of knew maybe some things, but then again, they're also like evading and saying that they don't know some things, and then they deny some things, and then they agreed with some things and said yes. I'll show the links, and then you can go read it yourself. I'm trying to kind of give a basic understanding of this. So they kind of maybe knew what was happening. I was reading that tour buses. I guess originally on their tour bus for Youth Boys, there's no woman allowed. And then there was a woman allowed. And this is from another company, and this is a lot of information. Sorry. But they did allow a woman on there, and she said a few things about being allowed on the tour bus with them, and she was writing and reporting on them. And she said there was drinking on the bus. They had beer in the back of the bus, and when this happened and that happened. So it seems vague, not vague. She says pretty specifically what it says, but I'm feeling like I was thinking about this when I was reading it. All these people, they're stating that these things happened, but then they state they never told anyone. Fear from fear of being fired or fear of backlash, fear of this, and I'm like, okay, but it seems like a theme that people are just not saying anything, or some of these people are writers, so they just kind of want to get the story, so they'll just sit there and do it. So I'm not going to get into this and that, into theirs or mine. They're more involved than I am. I'm just trying to share a few facts. So newsboys back to they were asked, they were told they couldn't come into Canada. And Tate told them, and he was like, okay, well, this was years ago before I was with you, and it happened years ago, but they wouldn't let Tate in. So I guess they never got to do that tour. Um, it does talk about instances of cocaine vendors where Tate was supposed to show up to recording sessions, but he never did, and people said that they knew that he was off on a cocaine bender. So he's been drinking and doing cocaine. I guess there was a man who wrote a few songs for the band, and they wrote them themselves. And I guess they're saying that Tate actually took credit for it, where he had nothing to do with it. I don't think that's fair. That's pretty unfair. I'm not going to sit here and say that's like 100%. Like I said, I was just reading about this from the Reuters report, and I trust them. I'm not saying I don't trust them. I'm going to be guarded at the moment. You don't have to be, but I want people to know that we should be a little guarded with this because we don't know everything, and people's versions can be they can change and they can kind of be a little bit different than where they see it this way and then we see it another way. But I am still with their side, and I think that if these things are happening or have been happening, like these strange things with people have been happening, then we need to bring it to the light. We need to let people know. I'm gonna say I love you, Michael Tait. I don't know if the victims would say that. I love the victims too. I'm sorry that it's really it's really a sad thing. It breaks my heart. Um, that I had to understand and read this, and then it's actually happening, and so it does bother me. I got another little thing here about the person I think that went on tour with him, and Michael Tait allegedly threw up in his bed, and nobody cleaned it up for 2 days or something. I'm not gonna get deep into that. That's not really my big. I'm like, okay, that's nice. That's great. The guy, he didn't even clean your own bed, but was blaming him, and then we do this. I'm not. And then the partying, and the lady, her name is Sarah Fine, who was on the tour bus. I believe she's the one who was on the tour bus with him or with the band, and then she was told that she can't drink. She's not allowed to drink, and she's not supposed to drink by her by the company she was hired by, so she didn't. And then allegedly, one of the crew members, band members, somebody on the bus handed her a drink, and then that guy's wife came up to her and said, "Don't drink it because they put something in it." So I don't know. This seems kind of fishy to me, but at the same time, I don't know. How do I know? I wasn't there on the tour bus. I'm not going to sit here and be like, you're a liar. What I'm going to say is, I hope you're not lying. I hope you're telling the truth. Because if you are lying, then you're breaking one of the Ten Commandments, which is thou shalt not lie. And then you're breaking another one. Thou shalt not have false witness against your brother, and not be sister or brother. So I am just going to sit here and read this, and I'm going to have a Swedish point of view. I'm going to sit there and be neutral, until I finally come to a final conclusion. So she said, I'm going back to the, she said she was on the tour bus. They don't allow women on there, but they finally made an exemption for her. So I don't know, they don't want women on the tour bus. And then, yeah, there was a 2013 picture of all them drinking all the newswife members drinking. She mentions Duncan Phillips and Michael Tait and gets into that, but somebody else, I think it was one of the Campbells, that said that, yeah, no, I don't remember Duncan ever really drinking. And there was never a policy where you couldn't. Oh, yeah, they said she said that there was a policy where they weren't allowed to drink on the tour bus, but the producer said no, there was never anything in my, what I have looking at that said you can't have drinking on the tour bus. And I'm not going to tell them about drinking or anything. Um, I'll get into this in another video someday. I will. Drinking is not sin. Um, I can get into it right now, but I won't. I'll get into it in another one. You can disagree. Put your reason why you would disagree on that, and then I'll let you. But I'm going to say that for another video. So there was another report, and I read this a little while back, that I guess a long time ago, um, Michael Tate did have a girl. So I guess he didn't treat her super, super well, or it was just kind of I don't know, a small thing going on. Um, I guess it was after a death in Tate's family that she lost contact with him, but I guess Tate did have a girlfriend a long time ago. And so we can see after that point that he did not have a girlfriend. So he hasn't been with anybody. I know Tate's never been married. I know some of this, the allegations coming out have to do with him inappropriately touching men. So I know people have said, I've heard it, is he gay? Or, it sucks to be in a place where you feel like you're gay, but you're not allowed to be because you're a Christian. I'm not going to go with either one. It's just, it still hurts. It hurts. It's like, it's hard for me to compile myself because I'm like, okay, this has happened. And there, there have been from other instances of, um, I guess, conspiracies with other Christian singers, notably Amy Grant and Michael English are the two that I come to mind. But those two, that was infidelity, and this is going into like sexual assault, and unwanted sexual touching. So it's a lot bit different. I mean, um, we go from adultery and then we go to a lot more. And I think I saw somewhere, there's a lot of people alleging that Tate assaulted them. Even sounds like a 16-year-old. So ugh, that's just terrible. It makes me sick. It really does. It really makes me sick, and I'm just so sad that it's happening. But I can't change it. It happened, and um, my message for everybody is just to stick with Jesus Christ. That's the first thing. That's the first thing, is to stick with Jesus Christ. You don't want to lose him. He said to forgive. He said to love one another as loved you. Um, they asked him, Rabbi, what do we do with this woman? And they were going to stone a woman to death for adultery. And he said, let he who has no sin cast the first stone. So we don't want to be the ones who are throwing the stone. Um, we want healing. We can be okay with prison. We want prison if that's the way that the law is going to go. And that's where I'm actually gonna go ahead and get into that right now, actually, before I go on. I know the police, there have been police that have started a formal investigation into these allegations. So I think it's very important that we should see what the police investigation does too. So if charges never happen, and I'm not saying they will or will not, I think it's pretty early, but I don't know. They're going to probably dot a lot of cross a lot of T's, dot a lot of I's, and I want them to. So I'm gonna follow more and see what the police end up finding because I don't know. Do I believe it all? Not necessarily. Um, Part of that could be because I don't want to believe it, and a little bit of denial. But at the same time, I don't think so. It's just more like what I do. People, you can disagree. That's fine. Please disagree if you do. I think we can both, or we can all agree that some action should probably be taken because Tate did confess. What action that is up to, I say, the authorities. So I want to see where their investigation goes, and I don't know if they determine that this might be something, I or embellished. I don't think so because I always think back to the tape or the confession that Michael Tait posted on Instagram. So I'll always go back to that. But we don't want this to be something that our enemy can use for himself against us to divide us. We want to be together. We don't want to be divided. We don't want to be divided. The devil will use this instance and these all of this to try and divide us. So he's already used Tate for this unfortunate state of events. So we don't want to further, but we don't want to start getting into hatred, deceit, lying, backbiting. We want to just go ahead and move forward. It happened. If it's going to be this way in an investigation, then we might want to get him out of society. We may want to bring Tate out of society, and then he will pay his due to to society, to that. Prison isn't something that's new. It's been around a long time, and there are people who do deserve to be in prison. So just because he's there doesn't mean we can't forgive. We want forgiveness. Forgive 70 times 7. Forgive that man 7 times out of it. Jesus said, love one another. Now, um, I'm not going to get deep into this, but I have been a victim of um, that type of thing, and so know that I am speaking to you through eyes in the mind that have gone through this type of. I know that I forgive everybody. It is the greatest thing ever that Jesus ever let us know is to forgive and to love. Now, we just don't want to go backwards. We want to go forwards. And it can be hard to heal. It can be hard to I it really is hard to heal. It can be. But while we continue forward, we just have to know that, you know, um, we'll never be forsaken. I think if it were me, I would rather have him in heaven than him in hell. I'm not going to sit there and be like, I hope you go through hell. I can't be that. You can be that way if you want to be that. I can understand. I'm on the victim side. But to say that I want you to go to hell now just doesn't seem very Christ-like to me. So we have all sinned. We have all come short of the glory of God. Not one of us is clean of sin. The Bible reaffirms that. We found this. And this is why we should come together and be together. I kind of got off there for a second. Um, we just want to better everybody. We want everybody to go to heaven, even our enemies, because God said. Now, Paul, No, pray for your enemy. Do good to those who despitefully use you. And if your enemy is hungry, give him some food. And if your enemy is thirsty, give him a drink. So this is where we want to go. So society and the way that we're governed with the police in investigations and prison, that can happen. But we also want forgiveness. There's so many people that are out there and showing forgiveness. I'll mention a big one, and everybody knows this, was Erica Kirk saying, I forgive you. She forgave Tyler Rapp. So we want that space. We want that to go forward. And she's a big victim. And I'm so sad about that. But we don't, if anything, if this, I would rather be best friends with the person who did this to me at the end, and we can both go to Jesus. And we can both go to the Father. We can be in heaven together. Because that is far much better. Anyway, I just wanted to do an update, talk a little bit more about what's going on with Michael Tait and what I read. Um, feel free to leave comments. Like I said, sorry if my voice and I don't have the best equipment, so I'm trying my best. But go ahead and leave comments, say anything, subscribe for sure, and like, share, let people know. I'm trying to get the word of Jesus out there. So may the peace of the Lord be with you always.